Watcher, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ian, this is the Essential Handyman. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and initial review of the Axminster mini belt and disc sander, which is the AC125BDS. Let's have a look, see what this looks like, shall we? Okay, got it here. It's pretty light actually, it's not very heavy. Looks like a dust extractor port. A bed for probably the belt, the disc sander. Mitre gauge. Assorted screws, nuts, quick release bits and pieces. Another bed. I guess this one's for the belt. Okay, so it's pretty lightweight actually, and it's a lot smaller than I thought it would be, which is brilliant, because not having a big workshop, I didn't want a great big one. And it's obviously got the instructions, which thankfully are nice and small, not too much to learn. So the first job is to turn this upside down and attach the vibration dampening rubber feet to the underside of the unit. Okay, so the rubber feet are just, they've got a little lip there, so that gets pushed in there. You may need to assist it in place with something like a screwdriver. Encourage it into the hole. Nice and stable. Right, so with the parts for the belt, you use this base here, and you'll notice that you've got 3 different sizes of handles. You want the bigger one for the belt base, and with the washers you've got 2 M6 washers and an M8 washer. It's the M8 washer you want to put this handle on. You'll notice that the sanding belt table has a narrow cutout here and then a large cutout at the back. That's to allow for the width of the plenum, which is behind the sanding belt. Obviously if you try to put this on just by pushing it via the plenum, it won't go on, so you have to lift it up higher. Let me just adjust that. You have to lift it up higher so you're just going over the belt, and then you can slide it down over the area of the belt and the plenum. Underneath the belt table you'll see that there's a hole in the side there. This is where this is going to locate in front of it there, and then you use the longer handle and the M8 washer. When you're attaching this, it's a little bit awkward to get into the hole. Let me show you what the problem is. The screw goes around obviously, and then the handle hits it here. So in order to get around that, you have to pull the screw out so you can twist it. And the easier way of doing that is to use a screwdriver and screw it in, but you'll have to pull it out while you screw it in, so that makes life a lot easier, and it will screw in there. Obviously I've got to put the base plate back on, but I was just showing you how to get this screwed on. Okay, so we've learnt something there together, haven't we? when you're putting this together, the screw will come out of the end section here if you overscrew it. So we put the base plate on over the top, put it down by the plenum, put this in here, screw it up a little bit, put your screwdriver in, pull it back, and screw into position. That's the base plate attached. Obviously you can have this going on an angle if you wish. I want to loosen it up because I'm going to want to put this initially fairly level. Something to note here, the natural position for the table is to push right back. Now if you listen, the belt is actually hitting the table. So what you need to do, let me just loosen this up. You need to position this table away. You can get it to about 3 mil away, but the instructions say the ideal dimension is about 1.5 millimeters away from the belt. I've put that about 2 millimeters, and that should be fine. Obviously, if you have it hitting the belt, you're going to wear away your belt and you're going to destroy your bands fairly quickly. Now the next item, the sanding disc table slots onto the side of this. However, don't be putting this on yet, because underneath the sanding table, if you want your dust extraction port goes on here first and it faces out to the back. Now what you don't want to do is be putting this on, or make putting this on very difficult afterwards. So make sure you put your dust extraction port on before you put your side table. The sanding disc table has these two little sort of rivets into the side of the table which attach themselves into the holes on each side of the on there. They slip in and they go up, and then you've got the bolt which is attaches itself through here and it goes into the hole beneath the slot. Okay, so the shift handle, which is one of the two smaller ones on the side belt table, catches on this unit here when you try to do it up. So they do actually give you two small Allen keys, just like the problem we had around the front on this one. The unit gets in the way, so you put the Allen key into the end of the unit, and you can do it up using the Allen key. Okay, the shift handle goes in this left hand side near the right hand side at the rear towards the extract port. It's very awkward to put in. Okay, one little tip to pass on I've learnt installing these: undo the Allen key, take the Allen key and be careful not to lose the spring that's behind it, and the handle off, and then install the washer with the locking nut behind on in one go. I tried to do it with this handle in place and it was the wrong thing to do because it just ended up like a pig's ear. So remove everything, put the locking screw and the washer on, then situate the handle back on top, put the screw and the Allen key in and tighten that in position when it's all done. And the important bit, we've got to make sure that the side table etc is set up properly. So in order to do that, you're going to use an engineer's square. You're going to set this belt to 90 degrees so we know it's perpendicular to the table, and then we can use our engineer's square pushed onto the mitre to see whether it's set up. Now I know that's not. I can see here that this needs adjusting, so this needs to come in a little bit. We can adjust the screws, and we can use the side screws to adjust the position of the table, and also turning your engineer's square on its side, pushing down, pushing it up against the belt, and see if there's any light that comes in here. Now I know, looking at this, I've got a little bit of light at the bottom when the square is vertical, and when I put it against here and it's in the horizontal, I've got a little bit of light at the side, so I'll have to adjust that. You also need to make sure that the sanding belt table is also true, so blow away any residue from the belt that may be there. Place your engineer's square onto the belt here, and you can see from here that I've got light at the top here. The way to adjust the table is to use the provided Allen key, put it in the screw at the back and adjust the height accordingly. Right, okay, you'll find that when you're doing this is very annoying, because when you set your engineer's square to the belt, as soon as you tighten it up, it brings it up in the air a little bit. Position this and lock it in. Check with my set square, it's wrong position, so now I will adjust it one turn, lock it in again and check. A little bit more at the bottom, adjust it quarter of a turn, lock it in again. It's gone too much, adjust it the opposite way, half a turn, lock it in. Take it off, adjust it an eighth of a turn. Okay, now I'm perfect now. So I now know that this base is set up, and that was a faff. That really was a pain in the backside. But it's taken me, looking at the timer here, 3.5 minutes. Obviously I will speed that up for video purposes, but you can expect a similar amount of time. Next thing you have to do is adjust the tracking of the belt to make sure it's running true. In order to do that, you remove the Phillips screw here, the Phillips screw here, and remove the tracking locking nuts here. Once the cover's removed, you can spin the belt to see whether or not it stays in the middle of the pulleys here, or whether or not it moves. You can move it with your fingers like so, or you can twist the bed here, and which will move the belt. So moving this will let you know whether or not the pulley up here, and you'll see it coming off of the wheel, if it goes to the left or the right, is situated correctly. It shouldn't come off the pulley because the wheels have got a slight little apex, it looks like, on the top of it, which sends it to the middle of the wheels and keeps it aligned. However, if this does need adjusting, you have a fine-tuning lever on the rear. So you turn this clockwise to track the belt to the right, anti-clockwise to track the belt to the left. So just like a steering wheel. Right will send you right, left will send you left. One of the last jobs to do is to adjust the platen. Oh, I think I called this a plenum before, didn't I? But it's the platen, so this needs to be adjusted so it almost touches the back of the abrasive belt, but doesn't actually touch it. Now, because some of the work I'm going to be doing is refurbishing tools and also sharpening knives, and that's the reason I got this, partially to refurbish tools, but mainly to sharpen knives, like kitchen knives, etc. I'm going to be taking the platen off because I want it to be a little bit of give in the belt. So, but you can adjust that from underneath fairly easily by removing the 2 Allen bolts underneath and just taking the platen off. Right, with all that said and done, there's only one thing left to do, that's to try it out. Obviously, safety goggles, safety first. Put my goggles on, standing back, don't touch anything like the blades, the rotating discs, turning it on for the first time. Okay, now I'm not touching the belt itself yet because I'm looking to make sure it's tracking okay. You'll know immediately whether it's not. Within seconds it will start going left or right. Now that is perfectly aligned for what I want. You'll notice that I didn't put the side panel back on while I did my test, because if I needed to do any adjustments, I wanted to be able to push the belt left or right back where it went before I adjusted the screw. So I'd have only had to keep taking it off, putting it back on, taking it off, putting it back on. The machine's not too bad in terms of noise, it's quite quiet, although obviously there is some noise. So using our noise meter, we can see the ambient room temperature, the room volume when I stop talking is about 34 decibels. Going up to 75 decibels when the machine is on. Now, just be aware, I only did it very, very slightly there. When I went to turn the machine off, my little finger gravitated downwards and hit the side of this. If I'd have done that hard, I'd have definitely taken my skin off there and probably had an abrasive cut. So be careful when you put your hands down here that your little pinky doesn't touch the side sanding disc. Anyone who follows the channel knows that recently I picked up a machete, which I think is a World War II military issue machete. I'm just going to give that a little go on this to see how well it sharpens this. Okay, just to say one thing, the blade, the belt itself goes down, yeah? So if you're sharpening knives, you want the blade to be pointing down as well. You do not want the blade up, because the belt will cut into the blade and it could shred it and there could be all sorts of issues. So I'm going to be attacking this with it pointing downwards. Let's work out my angle first before I adjust the blade when it's on. Okay, a similar angle to that. Put quite a good edge on there. We're miles away from being sharp. This is old and rusty. This couldn't shave a carrot with that. And this is cold as well, so it's not putting any heat through the blade, which is good. Yeah, all in all, that's not too bad at all. Let's try it with something else. We've got an old hammer here with a little bit that's been, someone's obviously missed the nail or the whatever they're driving in and taken a gash out of the side. Let's see how it deals with flattening that. Well, as you can see, it smashed through that easily. A piece of pea, as they say. So yeah, so not bad at all. I'm pretty happy with this. We're going to check how well the side sanding disc performs. So just with a little bit of timber, if I mark myself a little semicircle, little bend in the timber, see how well it takes that off. Right, switch back on, goggles on, turn on. Absolutely tears for it. Not sure what grit this is. I'm assuming this is going to be a quite abrasive grit. Probably going to be a P60 as well. Yeah. All in all, for about, don't know what these are. I think they're about £80 or something. I'll put the price on the screen for you. I'm very happy with this. One little hack worth considering is on this belt, now this has come from factory so I know that it's correct. It's got a directional arrow there. When you're replacing the belt, it's going to be very easy for you to forget which way this arrow goes. Does it go to the left, to the right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a little Sharpie and I'm going to make inside here a mark showing an arrow going this way. So I know that when I put my belts on, I'll always follow that arrow with this arrow, or I'll never forget and never put my belt on the incorrect way. In addition to the 60 grit belt that comes with the machine, I've bought myself a selection of grits as well, just a pack of 3. I've got another 60, I've got 100, and I've got 150. My main application for using this is going to be sharpening knives, like kitchen knives, etc. So I'm going to go for a knife sharpening setup on this, so I'm going to buy myself a, I've got 150 grit already. I'll probably go for a 200 or 250 and then maybe a 600 grit as well. But I'm also going to buy myself a leather stropping belt as well with some compound. So I've worked my way through the grits, sort of 60, 120, 250, 300, something like that, and up to a 600, and then a leather belt with a strop, and they should come out razor sharp, if not sharper. So I'm going to be using it for that. I'm also going to be using it for refurbishing tools, which I'm looking forward to doing, because at the moment my refurbishing is all done by hand, and the hand sanding is a pain in the backside, which is why you've not seen too many refurbishment projects, because I'm a lazy git, let me tell you. Yeah, all in all, I'm happy with this machine. Initial review, obviously, I haven't had it long. You know, I've been using it for half an hour or so. I'll do another review in a year or so once I've been using it for a while and tell you if there's any pros or cons you need to consider, whether or not it's a good machine to buy or not. First impression for me, pretty good. I'd advise anyone to get it upon first impression. There's a few setup issues, but hopefully I've shown you what all the waste of time setup issues that I've had were, and you can avoid those. Okay, thanks for joining me. Take it easy. See ya!